Hi, good morning everyone. So let me show the Kubernetes cluster creation on GCP. Like we are not using anything additional services in GCP. We are just utilizing the instances creation, and then we are using our own tool to form our Kubernetes cluster. Okay. One more point to make is nothing but in Docker Engine, I have updated all the documentations. So you can see the folders. So totally we have 9 topics, and including the 10th topic is nothing but the task what we have discussed, okay, regarding to the Docker. Okay, so Docker registry is also updated here with all the practical sessions. So all 3 topics have been updated with Docker local registry, securing a local registry, and then advanced local registry options. Okay, so everything is documented well here, so you can go through this at any point of time, and please let me know if something the topic is missing which is not available here. Okay, so coming to the next level, that is all about Docker. We are documentation which I've updated in the this particular folder. Okay. So coming to the next point, Kubernetes setup. Okay. So for Kubernetes setup, you can go to this particular KTS-setup. Here we have multiple options to do the setup. Like we have Minikube. I have updated some other tool how to do the setup and all. And then we have Container D as well. Okay. So we are not using right now the Container D. Tomorrow I will show you how to use a Container D to form your Kubernetes cluster, which means that instead of using Docker as a container runtime interface for Kubernetes, we are using container D. As I told you yesterday, right? Instead of using Docker to increase the latency, we are using container D directly, where your Docker is also using container D to create a containers. So why can't we? Why can't Kubernetes directly use a container D? Container D. Why? Because we are the Kubernetes need container runtime interfaces only to create containers. Apart from that, everything will be managed by your Kubernetes itself. Okay, so logically everything is managed by Kubernetes. Only for creating containers, we are using this container runtime interfaces. So apart from that, I don't do anything else, right? What Docker is providing me. So why I need to do unnecessary components that need to be installed and make my system complex or like vulnerability exposure, right? So for that reason only, we are using container D in the coming up classes or whatever the coming features releases what you see. Okay, now yes, so let us try to go with the documentation. So we have container runtime interfaces, and these are different container runtime interfaces actually. Okay, so right now what we will try to do, we'll go to the documentation. First of all, let me create 2 VMs, 2 instances for our Kubernetes cluster. One is master, which is called as controller, and one is compute. Okay, these nodes you can ignore. These are related to Ceph configuration management tool, which I've created. Okay, let me see if my quota allows me to create. I'll be taking less storage, but let's see. Okay, let me name this as control plane. Okay, control plane. Yes. So then in this availability zone, region and the region, and this is the zone which I'm using right now. That let it make it default. Okay. So the CPU which I want to use is nothing but vCPU with 4 GB of RAM is sufficient actually, but I will be using 2 vCPUs and 8 GB of RAM, and then change the operating system. So I want to use Ubuntu. So select that. In Ubuntu, I want to use a specific version called 20.04 LTS. Here, the storage, I just want to give only 30. Why? Because as per quota for this particular free account, I have only 250 GB. Already I have 3 VMs which are running in my system, like running in my GCP. Right now they are shut down, but I have already allocated, right? So 60, 60, 60, 180 GB is already done. So I have left with only 70 GB. So I have to make an adjustment in such a way that I should not run out of quota actually. Okay. So let me see if that makes any sense. So allow full access to all cloud APIs, or you can go with the default access. Okay, then we can allow all the traffic right now. Okay, I don't want to block any firewalls right now, so that's the reason I'm allowing all the firewalls related to HTTP and HTTPS. Only web server secured and non-secure traffic I'm allowing. Apart from that, nothing else. Okay, so click on create. Let's see whether that's created successfully. Once that is done, I will create one more VM. In your case, you will not see any other VMs, right? So you can give 100 GB, something like that. Oh, one is created successfully. Let's create another one called compute. Okay, compute plane 1, so that we can understand that it is compute plane 1 node. Compute plane 1. Okay, these are fine, these are fine. Select this standard 8 GB and 2 core CPUs. You already know, right? We need a minimum of 2 core CPUs. Okay, change the operating system. By default, you can remember that this GCP account will disable the swap memory of these images. Okay, so no need to worry actually, but let's see. I think I have 70, right? I'm trying to give 40 GB. Let's see if that makes no issues. If not, I will create with only 30 GB. If that fails, I think it's successfully created. Yes, done. Okay. Now done, my instances have been created. Now what I need to do, I need to log into each and every instances. Then I need to make my Kubernetes setup up, right? First of all, let me log into my control plane. No need to do an SSH to this. Directly we can open this browser SSH communication. Okay. If you want, we have to make it as key, but I don't prefer it actually. Generally, I go with this. Let's enlarge this. Let me open this as well. The compute one. So let's see. Here you can see it's a control plane. Let it log in. I will be switching to the root user. Okay. So after, oh, just a second. What is this? Okay. So now first thing what you have to do on Ubuntu system whenever you create a new mission is nothing but just execute this apt update command. Okay. So do not forget about this. And then for our betterment of this particular operating system, just try to run this dist upgrade and see whether the packages are available to upgrade. Okay, so make those packages to be upgraded as soon as possible when you log in. Okay, same thing I will be doing on my second system as well. Okay, that is on compute plane. Let me go back. So here also let me switch to the root user using sudo space -i. The first command is apt update. So this will be much faster. Okay, since I'm using Google Cloud Service, right? So network and everything will be much faster. apt and dist upgrade. So my system is up to date right now. Means all the packages are upgraded to the latest version as per the repository, and my system is up to date. Okay. So now I can go ahead and install the packages. So first, in the first demo, I just want to show using Docker, I want to create my Kubernetes cluster. That is the intention. So what I need to do, just go to the Docker official document, Docker install Ubuntu, for example. Okay, you'll go to the community edition, follow the procedures. Okay, first let's try to install the base packages. Okay, so I need to install on both. You can directly use Control V, automatically it will copy paste. Okay, no need to worry too much. So this is done. Okay, until I say everything should be run on both the machines. Okay, now download the repository. On both the machines I'm doing it. Okay, and then now create a repository on your local system. We downloaded the GPC key for that repository, and now we are trying to create a repository entries in the instances, both the instances actually. Okay, once this is done, you already know that we need to run update command. That is mandate. So here also just update. Okay. Now we have to install these packages. Before going to this, actually, I will tell you what need to be done. We need to install a specific version. Okay, not the latest one. Okay. So how I need to check that what are the versions have been available for my package so that I can install a specific version on my Linux operating system. Okay, it is whatever it is, whether it is a Ubuntu or whether it is CentOS, whatever it is, we have to follow, but the utility command might change, but the procedure is same almost. apt hyphen cache policy is a command and the option. Then you need to give your package name. Let's say docker hyphen c community edition, right? So this is telling you that the latest version is this, which will get installed by default. But I want to install this version. Why? Because Docker is supported with this version only for your Kubernetes. It's not supported with this. Okay. So we have some issues. So that's the reason it is better go with this. Okay. So go with this version. So apt install docker hyphen ce equal to we have to give, and then the package version. Okay, and we have another package called docker hyphen ce hyphen cli is equal to this, and then what is another package, containerd.io, containerd.io. Okay, so this command let me copy paste on other machine as well. Okay, first let me execute. So this is going on. Let's go to the next mission and let's install. So this is done. So my Docker installation is done successfully. Okay, let's go ahead. So you need to first follow this particular documentation what I given. Okay, so let me make a note of this particular document. If you want to do it parallelly with me, you can open your instances and you can do it. Okay, if you don't have enough time to practice and you're offline after this session, just you can make it simple by logging into this particular instances and do it. Okay, make a habit of this, but yeah, it's up to you, it's your optional. Then Kubernetes, right? So we are using kubeadm tool in order to do that. So let me try to give this as well, this link. Okay, so these specifications we have already followed, right? All these things we have followed. We have internet connectivity, we have disabled the swap memory. Yeah, let me show the disabled swap memory. Okay, so by default in cloud, swap memory is disabled. Okay, you can see there. You can see another instance. Okay, done, right? So what I said is correct, so I'm happy with this. So let's go and install the packages, right? So on both the machines you have to do it. Okay, just copy paste. So what it will do, it will enable the module called br underscore netfilters module for your Kubernetes, which is needed, and then it will allow the IP tables net bridge protocols. Okay, so that will get enabled. So this and that will get installed. Okay, done. Now what else? So this firewall I have already enabled, so no need to worry too much about this because we allowed all the firewalls. And then we have already installed this runtime. See, this is called as container runtime interface. Technically, Kubernetes uses container runtime, which is nothing but your Docker or Containerd or Creo. Those are called as, technically in Kubernetes point of view, it is called as container runtime interfaces. Okay, like an add-on. Now we need to install three tools for to form your Kubernetes cluster using kubeadm. What are other tools? We have kubectl, we have kubelet. You know about kubectl commands. Okay, kubectl command is a tool which we use in order to interact to your Kubernetes. That is like a CLI. Once a Kubernetes setup is formed, how I can interact to my Kubernetes cluster? We using kubectl from a CLI. Okay, and kubelet is a component which will be running on all the nodes as a daemon. Means there will be a service which will be running in the background for all the nodes, which is nothing but kubelet. As I already told, right, in the diagram, as per the diagram, kubelet will be running on all the nodes and kubeproxy as well, right? Kubeproxy is not a service, it's a pod which will be running, but kubelet is a service which will be running on all the systems as a daemon. Okay, to create a pods, to create a containers, everything will be handled by your kubelet, which is really important. Okay, always when you try to create a container and if it is not able to create or something is going wrong, first you need to see whether on that node the kubelet service is running or not. Okay, maybe on this there will be one question in the CK exam. They'll tell you one of the node is not ready, so they will tell you to troubleshoot and fix it. Okay, most of the cases they will make down this kubelet service. Okay, you have to start it and that will fix. So that's the reason the percentage of that question will be only 4% actually, since it is a simple task, right? So that's the reason. Kubectl is an actual tool which we will be using to bootstrap your cluster. Okay, so these are the three components which should be installed on all the nodes. Okay, this is optional. You can install only on control plane node because you will be doing all the actions from there, or you can do it from your compute node as well, which is not necessary. Okay, so for that we have to install this package. Update we already done, right? No need to run again and again right now. If you are comfortable, you can write Ansible playbooks for these installations. Okay, if you are already familiar with any configuration management tool like Ceph or Ansible, it's up to you. Okay, you can simplify this particular task, but execute what I have told. If any one of them is missing, that will cause an error. So that's the reason. Okay, done. Now I have to create a repository in my local system for Kubernetes. Okay, GPC key is done, right? Now this. Almost same kind of procedure what you follow in Docker. Okay, now just run update command and then install the packages. Okay, here there is one particular short thing which we have to check. Now with this, what this step until here or until the next step, actually let me complete the next step also. Let me tell where we have to divert. Okay, now we have done the update command, right? Now we need to install the package. Now as per the release, the new release is now 1.22, but don't try to install this. We have some issues with kubeadm. The Kubernetes cluster is not getting formed. Okay, it is failing. So that's the reason we will go with one step backward, or two step backward is enough for it to get a stable version. Okay, not less than that. 1.19 is not recommended. Okay, you can go with 1.20 or you can go with 1.21 as per latest release. One step backward or two steps backward for this Kubernetes cluster is recommended. Okay, so do make a point of this. Now I'm not going with 1.22 because it is still in the development stage, and I see a lot of issues in this. Okay, when I created, right, a Kubernetes cluster on 1.22, it's not getting created. It has so many issues actually. So that's the reason. Let's go with 1.21 with the latest patch set release. Okay, the maximum version which we have. 1.21 dot, the next one is nothing but a patch version. What is one? Major version. What is 2.1? Minor version. Okay, after this anything if you see, that is called as patch version. Okay, so the minor version which you are trying to pick is 2.1. Okay, so let's go for that. So that's the reason we are not going to execute this step as it is. We have to do some modification. First of all, let me show you how to check for the package. Actually we already know this, right, just now. Let me check for one package. That is enough actually, not for all three of them. You can see it supports for it. You can install from 1.51.1, but you cannot do that, right? So let me try to show you. So this is the problem with Google actually. Let me try to show with less. What is the latest version? 1.22.1, 1.22.0. The last version of 1.21 is this. So let's try to install that. Okay. So how will you install? Let's see. Git command is done, right? Let me try to re-execute. I apt install three packages: cube, adm, okay, this version, and then kubelet also, this particular version, and the kubectl also. You can install latest of kubectl, nothing will happen, but let's go with this. Okay, done. Kubeadm, kubelet, and kubectl, right? Just execute. That's it. Before going further, let me copy paste so that I can no need to type again on the compute plane. Okay, let's continue. On this node also I have to do with the same. Now from here you have to decide which node you want to make it as a control plane and which node you have to make it as a compute plane. So from here the commands will change. Okay, only two commands actually, nothing more than that. Now I know that I will be making this node as a control plane. So I have to bootstrap this particular node first, the control plane node. Okay. If it is high availability, if you have three control plane nodes, you have to choose one of them. Okay. In that three also you have to choose one of them. Okay, to make your first node to be bootstrapped. In a cluster, anywhere if you try to understand or if you know, we will pick only one node first to bootstrap with all the minimum required things. That's how the tool will be designed. Then you will add one by one node based on its whether it is a control plane or whether it is a compute plane. Based on that particular, the options will change. Okay, so here also we have to bootstrap the node. You have to decide which node you want to bootstrap first. Obviously I know that the control plane node, right? Compute plane will be added as a slave, right? So in order to bootstrap this particular node, the command is, so you cannot execute this same command on both the nodes, so please do remember this. Okay, now what we have to execute in the documentation it has, but it is clumsy. Why, I will let you know. Use kubeadm create to cluster. So just open this, then you have to open this URL. Keep a note of this as well. It is in the bottom of the above document, but let me give this as well. Yeah, so now we have to use kubeadm. That's a matter which was written here. You can just, if you have patience enough, just you can read this and understand. Okay, if you see any topic that is related to like GA, that is called as general available, which means that it is not a beta version or alpha version, it is by default available. Okay, now the latest release is 1.22, which you already know. We are on that particular page actually. That's okay. Install a single control plane Kubernetes cluster. That's how they have written some particular topic. You can have patience enough, you can read it. But here the important thing is to initialize the control plane node, run kubeadm init and then arguments. What arguments I need to pass? Consider considerations about API server advertise address and the control plane endpoint. While is this, what is this API server advertise address? Which means that now everybody wants to talk to the API server. You already know that, right? Already told that each and every component or even you will be trying to communicate to the API server first. So if you want your API server to be listening on a specific IP address, then we have to specify this. See, in the real time, it's not like this, right? Your node might have multiple IP addresses or interfaces. Maybe ENS0, we have another interface with public IP, another interface with private IP with much faster NIC card and specifications and all, or bond interface, something like that. Okay, so you cannot pick some automatic IP address, right? You have to choose a specific IP address or a specific interface. Okay, so for that reason only they have given you an option which is really important. For this, either you can pass your interface name or you can pass your IP address. Okay, both are accepted. This is the first option we have to use. And the next option is, which you may directly execute this actually. That's what the mistake people will do. It's not problem with you. It's a problem with the documentation itself actually. Okay. So for that reason only, I will say that just read it. Don't try to execute it. Okay. Generally we give this and we give this and we'll execute. But it's not like that. You have, if you scroll down, this is how you get an output once it is successfully done. Okay, then this is the command which you will execute on the compute plane to join the another node. Okay, now here it is about in the Kubernetes cluster we need a networking, right, which is really important. Why? Because I will have pods, nothing but a containers. Just try to understand, pod is nothing but a logical name to your containers. It does something else, but I will tell you what is that. Okay, pod is nothing but, if there will be a pods running in each and every node, in the each node you have to communicate with each other on the same node, and the pod might be sitting on another node, you have to communicate. So all this communication networking should get assigned to your pod's IP address and all, right? So this will be taken care by your pod network add-on. So you will be integrating additional external networking tool to your Kubernetes cluster, which is called as container network interface, which you are integrating. The runtimes is nothing but container runtime interface like Docker, Kubernetes, Containerd, Creo. Similarly, for networking, we will be integrating. Technically, it is called as container network interface. What are the network interface that are supported? Okay, so let's see. In the networking model, you can see so many things: ACI, Anterior, OS, Astra, AWS VPC, CNI, Azure, Big Cloud Fiber, Calico. Calico is the most used one. Okay, because it supports BGP peering, eBPF, data plane, and so many other advanced tools are supported by this. We have network policy where you can add additional firewall to your Kubernetes. You can restrict, saying that if I don't want my pod to be communicated to other namespace pods, you can restrict by adding a policy, network policy. So there are so many things which will be supported by Calico. In our production also we have used Calico, and I see most of the people use Calicos. If you are cloud specific, then this might change. Okay, this might change actually. Okay, but since we are using on premises, we are using Calico, which is the best tool for networking. Okay, if you are deprecated, just you have to understand and look at this. We have so many networking tools, network interfaces which are supported by Kubernetes. Okay, so yeah, so once it is, we went to the official document, right? For the Calico, you can just search in Google like this also. Calico Kubernetes. Search for like this and go to the first one. Here you can see, right? Forget about these two. These are advertisements. Click on this. Oh, it's Tiger. Why it's going to this? Not this one actually. Where is official document? Yeah, here it is. Docs.projectcalico.org. Just open this. You'll go here and then you can go to quick start. Okay, in the quick start it will tell you, if you are using Calico, you'll get these benefits. You can get network policy which is supported by Calico. IPAM, we have IPAM and IPIP. I will tell what is this later. CNI, container network interface, is nothing but Calico. Overlay networking, we will be using VXLAN tagging. Okay, we have other types as well, but right now we are using VXLAN tagging. Okay, then we have routing as well, and the data store, which means that all the Calico related information will be stored in Kubernetes itself. Okay, if you that is nothing but Kubernetes data store. If you want to make it etcd, we have. So it's like so many things which are available, and you can do a fine tuning as well. But right now, let us not go in depth of it. So it is a vast syllabus. If you are patient enough and if you want to go in depth of that, we can just read about this as well. Okay, so right now, let us not go into that. So here also it will suggest you that you have to execute a command like this, and the additional option is nothing but pod network CIDR. So what should be the CIDR that you want to use for your Kubernetes networking, for your pod networking? That is nothing but this by default. Why is that by default this? Why? Because if you apply these two YAML files, by default it will give you this network CIDR. Since I'm in my, if you try to see my, just try to understand. My base network is 10 series. So if I directly execute this, nothing will happen. Okay. But when you are using home network, by default, it is 192, 168. So then I have to change this. So in order to change this, I need to first download. I should not execute this directly. First, I need to download this file. In this file, you have to modify. Let me show you that. So that's the reason I'm not executing this directly, but I can execute. Why? Because I'm using the same CIDR, what it is suggested here. Okay. For that point, let's first of all let me show you First of all, let me try to do a kubeadm init. I will be using this particular CIDR for now, okay? Because my base network on my system and this pod CIDR is different, so I can go for it, okay? Now, let me open my control plane. What I need to be kubeadm init, okay? Here I need to go advertise address as well. Oh shit, okay, okay. Sorry, luckily I am not given. Kubeadm init pod CIDR, network CIDR, and API server advertise address, right? Where is that? Where is the API server advertise address? Let's take it. So my control plane IP address is, I'll be bootstrapping with private IP address. Okay. So 10.128.0.22, right? And the pod CIDR is, let's try to take that. If you scroll here also, you can see that option. They'll give you under networking actually. Where is it? Yeah, here it is. Take this and give the CIDR. Okay. What is the CIDR which I want to use? 192. As per the documentation Calico. Totally, how many IP addresses we get? Any guess? Any guess like how many IP addresses we can utilize?
2 to the power 16 minus 2.
Okay, yeah, correct. So it is almost 65,535, which is more than enough, right? It is beyond your imagination, right? 65,000 containers, you don't run it, right? Pods, technically. Not more than that? Impossible, right? Hardly you might utilize only 50 or 60 like that, which is more than enough for us, right? So let's go with this. So this is how you have to bootstrap your control plane node. Okay, so see, it is host name is control plane, so I'm okay with this. This node I want to make it as a control plane. Okay, so done. Let's execute. Now here there is some issue. It's not an issue. It is telling you that you have to enable this IP forwarding as well. To do this, echo 1. In order to enable, we just give 1 and we will store it in this particular file. Okay, so this is one thing we have to do. Let me copy paste. Let me create one more. Sorry. Okay, let me keep it like this so that I can utilize later for your documentation purpose. Okay, now let us execute. So it will tell you if something is missing. It will tell you like what need to be done. Okay, so let's go with this. It takes only few minutes, not more than that. Generally, we have to use this particular latest version, but it is falling back to this particular stable release. Okay. So it is generating certificates, it is downloading some images. First it is downloading some image, then it is creating the certificates for all these components to authenticate with each other. Then it is generating some kubeconfigs and some other things. Now you can see it is successfully installed. Okay. Now take a note of this, save it wherever you want, it's up to you. I'll be saving here for my purpose. Then here what we need to do, it is telling you that your Kubernetes control plane was initialized successfully. To start using your cluster, you need to run the following as a regular user. So it will create a directory called .kube under your home directory, and it is copying the kubeconfig file, which is under this /etc kubernetes admin.conf file is copied to this particular file under this directory which you created above. Why? Because when you execute kubectl command, we need to authenticate and authorize to the Kubernetes cluster, right? That information is present here actually. Instead of file present here, by default kubectl will search for this particular location. So that's the reason they are copying it. Okay, and then they are changing the ownership to the current user which you have logged in. Okay, so these are the three commands which we are trying to execute. Okay, after this we have to install the networking related topic, right? So we have already decided that we want to use Calico, right? In the Calico we have to, since it is the same CIDR which is already present in this YAML files, let me show you. Let me download this YAML files. This is not important. Next YAML file is important for us right now to understand. Okay, and the next YAML file is, you can see directly we are using kubectl commands from now, so you'll get habituated to that. So now open this file, custom, yeah, resources. You can see here by default this is the CIDR. If you want to change the CIDR, let's say in the CLI you have passed a different CIDR than what Calico is by default providing you, then you have to come here and you have to update. That's it. Okay, so do remember this point. If it is customized, if you are going with the same network, then, but don't go with same network always. It depends upon your base network as well. Okay, so that is my suggestion. So let me try to apply this. So kubectl is a command. Okay, so that this will talk to the Kubernetes cluster and this will apply to create this particular resources. Apply, or we can use create actually. What is that? Tigria YAML file and then -f. You can give multiple YAML files at a time. Custom. Okay, done. It is created, right? So warnings and all you can ignore. If you scroll up, this is important for us. Now this command, see, then you can join any, once this task is done, it is done just now, you can execute this particular command on the worker node to join the node as, okay, to the cluster. So take this, go to your compute plane and just simple, just execute this. You might fall into some error, same error. We have to execute this. Echo 1, let me give this 5. Okay, now let's go and execute this. Now this command will try to join this particular node to this. See, your Kubernetes API server is listening on this, right? So it will communicate to that and it will ask to join this particular node to the cluster. Now it is telling you that this node has been successfully joined and it is asking you to run this particular command on the control plane node. So go to the control plane node and try to execute kubectl get nodes. This is the first command you have to always execute. Okay, let's wait until this. See, you can see this node is not ready yet. Okay, why? Because there are some particular pods which are under creation process. Pods are nothing but containers, right? Where you can see it, kubectl get pods hyphen all from all namespaces. Right now you don't have anything, you will have only Kubernetes related. See, these are under pending state. Okay, let me see. Tigria operator is created, but not that, right? Okay, let me see what happened to this custom. Create -f custom installed and created. Okay, let me see. Maybe this custom resource.yaml file is missing, I guess. That's the reason. Still, yeah. Now we can see it is applied. Containers are under, see, if it is running state and if you get 1/1 or 2/2, that is well and good. Okay, running doesn't mean that your container is ready. It should be ready as well. If it is 2, it should be 2/2. If it is 1, it should be 1/1. Means inside this particular pod you have one container. I will tell you what is the pod and all, but try to remember this. Okay, it should have only one container. That's container is ready right now. Okay, that's how it is. See, here it is telling you it's running, but here you can see 0/1. What does it mean? Your container is running, your pod is running, but your container is not ready yet to accept the request. Okay, maybe it might be up. Let's see. Yeah, you can see now it is up. Okay, it took some time. That's it. Only one pod is pending. Let's wait. Calico API server. So let's wait for that. It is network related API. So you can see everything is up and running. I hope your Kubers node should be up, ready state. Okay. So with this, our Kubernetes setup is done. Okay. So tomorrow, if you want to join a new node, you have to do all the installations what we have done till kubectl, kubeadm, packages and all. One more command we have missed, that is nothing but you have to uh, go back to this. You have to execute this command actually. Yeah, this one, so that it will not do an auto upgrade. Okay, so do not forget this. Maybe I missed it, my bad. Okay, this will lock your packages from auto upgrade. Okay, this is critical for us because we are using lower version, right? So that's the reason. So this is done. Your nodes are ready right now, and your all pods are ready and up. Okay, so done. Okay, well and good. So with this, our Kubernetes setup is done successfully. Okay, so always remember, if one of the node is not running, so first check this, and if you give -o void, it will tell you which pod is running on which node. And see if one of the node is not ready yet, one of the pod is not ready yet, see if it belongs to the same node which is not showing a ready status. Okay, and one more thing, you need to go to that particular node and see whether your kubelet service is running or not, which I told you, right? So you have to check like this, your kubelet service is up and running or not. Okay, on both the nodes, whichever node is not ready. Okay, in the control plane also you can see that. Okay, service is running and it's up and running. Okay, so with this we have completed our Kubernetes setup. Okay, any questions on this? No. Okay, what
Sorry,
we have to do
quick
now?
question. Uh,
Yeah.
so in a normal production scenario, how many
Mhm.
control planes will be there?
Let me tell in our
Just
scenario, it depends,
mm,
right? Let's say we have a brown field, green field, and we have a small, medium, large, and all. Small in the sense we use only 10, 5 or 6 compute nodes. Okay, it is for small clients. And if it is, we have medium in the sense we use 20 compute nodes. Large in the sense we use 40 computes. So as per
okay,
Kubernetes documentation, with one controller node, okay, you can manage up to 500 compute nodes. Got the point what I'm
okay.
saying? 500
Slave.
compute nodes, slaves, yeah, technically, which you call. Okay, don't call it a slave, make it as habituated to compute. Okay,
Oh,
so those many compute plane nodes you can add. Imagine, like, is that sufficient? 500 is beyond our imagination, right? No one will use it actually. 40, 30,
mm,
20 max, not more than that. But technically it is supported, they have tested it. Okay,
okay.
yeah. And what is the recommended, you might have, what is the number of pods that we have to launch on each and every node? 110 is recommended, but maximum we can launch 250. Okay, that you will come to know with kubectl describe node and the node name, let's say control plane or compute plane, whatever you want. Okay, if you scroll up, this is the entire information of your node. Okay, how much CPU, memory, ephemeral storage, huge pages, 1 GB and 1 2 MB. And if you scroll up a bit, it will tell you what kubelet version you are using, kubeproxy version, architecture, OS, ID, everything. It's like the number of ports 110, the quota which you technically call, right? So 110 is recommended. That's the reason by default you get it, but maximum 250. Okay, remember these points. 110 in each node, it's more than enough, right? So based on that you have to decide how many applications you are running. Because why we have used 20 10 like that, right? Because we are using OpenStack cloud on top of our Kubernetes cluster. That's a reason. Okay, that's the reason. But in real time we don't deploy any cloud on Kubernetes cluster. It's we are using open source cloud that is called as OpenStack. That's the reason I worked on that particular project. So that's the reason we have used those many nodes. But in real time, we don't use such a long compute nodes into our Kubernetes cluster. It depends what kind of application you are trying to run. Okay. So this is the pods here. It's a pod CIDR which is allocated to this node. You can see what is your CIDR for this node /24. If you try to look at your AWS, does anyone know about AWS networking a bit? I'm not talking about too much. It's only just a VPC networking. You know about network subnets and all? At least about network and subnet. No? Okay. So network in the sense we have given from a Calico side, we have given 192.168.0.0/16 means 65,500. In that we can create so many subnetworks, right? Okay. So one of the subnet is nothing but 192.168.0.0/24, which means that on this we can use maximum of 253 IP addresses. The maximum ports which we can launch 110. So it is double the IP address is what I have. So that's fine, right? So that's the reason it allocated this automatically by your Calico. If you look at your compute, it will be different. Okay, I can show you from here only. Describe of your compute node. Okay, compute. I will explain about this later, but yeah, I just want to show you. Here you can see 1.0/24. That is 0.0/24, which means that the IP address will start from 0.1 and it will end at 0.255. But here it will start from 1.0 and it will end at 1.255. If you have another node, they could have allocated a Calico 192.168.2.0/24. Okay, so that's how it is. Got it? So that's how it will allocate automatically. So this is what I just want to explain. Okay, so this is all about your Kubernetes cluster. So try to make your setup ready. Whenever I say something, you can just practice with me, along with me parallelly, or you can just do it offline instead of waiting for. See, don't do after 10 days and say that I am not able to form my Kubernetes cluster. Don't go with that particular approach. Nowadays, you can see the market, right? Competition is too high and the demand is also too high on these particular topics. Docker with Kubernetes knowledge, right? We have huge market outside. Maybe down the line, until 5 years, I can hope that this market will be there. 5 years. Okay, so don't get down. So try to practice your cluster as soon as possible. Since you joined this particular course only to learn this, right? So you have to make your time. Okay, maybe in your working hours also take another laptop or open the Google Cloud and just practice. Keep 1 hour on your working hours also for your Kubernetes practice. Okay, that in that way only you can learn a new topics. If not, it will be delay. It's not that you will not learn, but it will take some time you to come into the market. Okay, so that's the reason. Okay, so this is what suggestion from my end. So that's just make your Kubernetes setup ready, up and ready by tomorrow. Okay, so what I've told, just replicate that. This video will get uploaded, right? Even I will share the document by afternoon. So just follow that particular documentation. Okay, any questions to me, please? No. Okay, thank you. Thank you for the day. We'll see tomorrow. The first topic which we are going to start tomorrow is pod. What is a pod? Okay, thank you.